I'm Whitney, and we are at Iron Horse Equestrian Complex, and this is Claire, and today we are going to be working on giving her a body clip. Okay, so the clippers we're going to be using today are called KM2s, and they are made by Wall. They're a smaller clipper, but they have a strong motor, so they're good for making it through a thicker coat or a lighter coat. It doesn't really matter. There's other brands you can buy. Oster and Andis also make good clippers, whether they're a smaller type or actual body clippers. You want to make sure, first of all, that the horse you're going to do is A, comfortable with being clipped, and B, if they're not, you want to make sure that you take necessary precaution to make sure there's not going to be any surprises like kicking or wig outs. So this horse in particular is very familiar with clippers, being clipped around her face, being body clipped. So she's not going to have to be sedated. We're not going to have to twitch her. She's a very good girl. But I'm going to wear a helmet anyways, just in case, because you never know. And working with them and around their legs, you just always want to be safe. When we start clipping, usually I always like to start on a body clip on the shoulder of the horse, just because it's a very non-invasive area of their body. She can see exactly what I'm doing around her here, so there's no surprises. You're also at a distance from her back legs in case she decides she's a little bit uncomfortable with what's going on. She decides to give a little kick. And also, it's a little difficult for them to strike you when you're near the shoulder of them. And that's about it as far as getting started. So when I do my first clip, I'm going to turn my clippers on first. And I'm going to hold them near her just so she is able to hear them and see them and she can recognize what's going on. And the idea of doing a body clip is to do as big of strokes on the horse as you can. So the bigger the strokes, the more surface area you're going to cover, therefore the less lines you might get. So I'll turn them on first. Let her see them, so know what's about to happen. And then I can get started. So I'll start by the shoulder, and I'm just going to do one pretty long swoop up her neck, going the direction the hair is. So we're going to go right against the green of the hair. So you can see I covered a lot of area. It's also good for sectioning off parts you want to clip first. So because I've done a long clip, I'm probably going to cover this area behind the first cut. The other thing you want to make sure is that before you clip, your horse has had a really good bath and has been show-sheathed. That way the blades will make it through the hair easier and there will be less resistance between them, so that the clip comes out a little bit better and not too jagged. Okay, so I finished clipping her shoulder and her neck, and you can see it's pretty smooth. There's a few little lines. When you're done clipping a big area of the horse, the clippers tend to heat up after doing large sections. You usually have to give them a break, probably halfway through. But once you give them a break, it's a good idea to probably put a little bit of lubrication on them. And something like this, blade ice, will help cool the blades so that they're not uncomfortable for the horse and the clippers don't overheat. When I've done one section, I usually go back, and to help get rid of some of the lines, I use a smaller curry comb, something like this jelly scrubbing mitt. I would use it, and what I do is I back comb sections of hair that I've clipped. So what this does is it lifts up any of the lines that have been flattened by the clippers. and it makes it easier when I go back over them for the clippers to catch them the second time. So I'll turn them back on and I'll clip through it, and the clip will be a lot cleaner because of it. The other section I'm going to point out is clipping by the mane. Clipping by the mane can be a little bit tricky, especially if you have a pony like this one that we are planning on braiding. The last thing you want to do is accidentally clip off large portions of the mane, because it will make it very difficult down the road for it to be braided, because it'll grow in short. So when we clip a section like this, the first thing you want to look out for is directions that the hair travels. A lot of horses up by their neck will have a swirl or a change of direction in the hair. So you can see that Flair has hair that travels this way, but up by the swirl it actually changes direction and travels the other way. So when we have something like a swirl and a change of direction in the hair, we have to change the direction in which we clip. So I'll explain what I'm going to do first, and then I'll show you. So when I go to clip this section that has a swirl and a change of direction in the hair, I'm going to start up by her ears, and I'm going to clip against the hair. And I'm going to cut right along the edge of the mane. And you'll see I'll cut along the edge and there will be a little bit left over. And then what I'll do is I'll pull the mane over, and you can see that sections of leftover body hair will stick up, and we'll clip those. And to clip these, we actually clip down them. So we'll find where the swirl is, and then we'll start to clip against the grain of hair. So you can see now that we've gone against the hair, we've gotten a much smoother line, and the swirl is almost unidentifiable. So you can see there's still a little tiny pieces of hair left over, so what we'll do is we'll flatten the mane over, which will let those stick up, and we're just going to very carefully clip them down. Being very sure you don't get large portions of the mane with the clippers. So now that I've done the neck and the shoulders of the horse, the next section I would cover would be probably the belly area and the back. I would do this section next just because it's a very large section, and I usually move from the front of the horse to the back. And when I start on the belly, I usually start somewhere down here. That way I can get a nice clean stroke all the way back up to the wither. After I do the belly, I usually go to the bum and I move backwards. I leave the legs for last because they're very tedious. And if the horse has been very patient, I'll do the head last. If they haven't been, I'll do the head probably after I do the body. Some horses are okay with their faces being done, and some get a little bit angry. So this horse in particular, I will probably put a humane twitch on, and I'll do the face probably after I do her body, and then I'll take it off so she doesn't get too mad, and then I'll continue and do her legs. Okay, so I'm done clipping the belly, the shoulder, and the bum of the left side of Flair, and I've come to the tail. When we do the tail, we actually have to be quite careful. We don't just chop straight across. When it comes to clipping the tail, what we do is we angle our clip so we get what appears to be a very small triangle right above the dock. So how we do it is we come in right at the sides of the tail, and we don't go too high up, just high enough that we actually don't get any tail hair, but we get a lot of the horse's body hair out. So it includes pretty much only tail hair. Okay. So you want to hold the sides of the tail so you don't get any of it caught in the blades and chop it off. And you're just going to angle it cut across. So you can see I've angled the one side. And then we're going to try to angle the other side as best we can to match and do a nice triangle. If you find that it's a little bit lopsided, You can just kind of work at it and play with the angles of the clippers until you get a nice, fairly symmetrical triangle across the top of the tail of the horse. Here we go. Okay, so the next part we're going to cover is clipping a leg. The legs, because obviously the horses walk on them, they have very dirty points that you really want to make sure you bathe well before you try to clip. So the knees, the ankles, down here around the cornet, you want to make sure it's very, very clean and slippery with show sheen or satin sheen before you clip them. Otherwise, the clippers will have a very tough time making it through the hair. When I do the legs, I usually start down at the bottom and I work my way up. You can see that I've included the top of her leg in the body clip. So I've kind of started the top of the leg with the body clip, and we'll do from the knee down, starting with the foot. The majority of her body. As far as her face goes, I'm going to clip it later, but I can explain to you how we go about doing the face. There's a few different ways you can clip face. One way, if they have a very hairy face, is to do an entire face clip. So it would include under the forelock, the ears, not just the inside but the outside as well, the cheeks and under the jowl, and also the nose. For a horse that doesn't have a lot of hair, say on the front of their face, on their forehead, between their eyes, sometimes I'll clip just up to the cheekbone. So I'll do a full clip of the cheek, just underneath the jaw and up to the cheekbone. That's a convenient clip if they don't like their face being clipped, and if you have some time for the clip itself to even out. If you are showing within a few days of clipping the horse, it's probably a good idea to do the entire face of the horse. So since I've done the body, usually once we finish the body, we like to spray them down with a moisturizer. This is Healthy Hair. So Healthy Hair is a concentrated moisturizer, mixed 1/8 part moisturizer with 7/8 water. So it's convenient. You shake it up, and we're just gonna spray her down all over, obviously, the places we've clipped. We don't want our skin to dry out, obviously, having come in contact with the clipper oil and the blades themselves. So we'll spray her down. Because her hair is so short, we just rub it in. So it'll make her coat nice and healthy, still nice and moisturized, and also now shiny. All the products that we've used today, the clipper, the oil, the moisturizer, all of it can be found at your Greenhawk store. And if you have any further questions regarding clipping or grooming, just drop in and ask your local representatives.